articulate than like using words like boy, but it's fine. And so we end up, he goes home to pack his things, and I go home to pack mine. I walk into my room, and I begin to grab the essentials for running away. Now, the essentials when you're 3 years old, to me, were one stuffed animal, named C-A-T. It was a cat, it was great, and a whistle. So I left my house, out of the door, because apparently, like, my parents let me play outside without supervision. I don't know why. Like, it's not a good thing. Please, as future parents, please don't let your 3-year-old play outside alone. Like, they'll end up like me, and you don't want that. Look at me. I'm sweating, and I'm not doing anything. I'm just walking. You don't want that. Gosh. Well, I leave my house, and me and Kyle set off across the cul-de-sac. And I said, Kyle, what are we going to do when we run away? He goes, we're going to join the Olympics. Guys, I'm this tall. He's probably this tall. Like, there's no way. I didn't even know what the Olympics were. They hadn't happened in my lifetime yet. Like, okay, yeah, Kyle, let's join the Olympics. What are the Olympics? It's sports. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my dream. I'm going to be a soccer player in the Olympics. I know what I'm going to do. Guys, at one point I did play soccer. It was fun. But I was playing like indoor soccer, and I was like, that's my sport. That's what's happening. So then we walk a little farther, and I said, Kyle, how are we going to get there? And he goes, the bus. Well, I had never seen a bus at this point. I'd never ridden a bus. I said, Kyle, what's a bus? He goes, it's like a long van that takes you places. I was like, okay, valid. Well, Kyle, where do we get on the bus? Like, how do we get on there to get to the Olympics? And he just looks at me, like dead serious. I'm asking him all these questions, and he kind of just goes, I don't know. And I'm like, but you're supposed to know. This was your idea. So I look at him and I'm like, Kyle, do you think that we maybe shouldn't run away? Because we don't know what we're doing? And he's like, no, we probably shouldn't run away. And this is the funniest part. So I look Kyle dead in the eyes. I'm like, so what do I do? My parents don't love me. And he goes, my parents love me. I'm going home. Like, wow, just like boom, roasted, like just done. So I'm sitting there. Kyle has now left me. I'm out of sight of my house for the first time in my entire life. Can't see my parents or my house, and I am freaking out. I have never been more hysterical ever, probably since. And I'm just like I don't even know if I can still cry like that. So I'm crying and crying and crying and crying. Eliza's looking at me like I'm crazy. It's okay, Eliza. I promise. I know, Eliza. It's okay. But I'm freaking out, and I go home. And I look all the walk home. I'm like super tiny, so I'm like walking like this with my head down, just like screaming. And I get to my front door and I open it up, and my dad's sitting in his rocking chair. And he's like, hey Jonathan, what's going on? I'm like, you guys don't love me. And my dad's just like, he starts laughing at me, because like what good parents do. Like, oh, you think I don't love you? Stupid. So he's like, he starts laughing at me, and he's like, Jonathan, of course I'll always love you. And he's like, why wouldn't I love you? And I was like, Dad, I did something so bad. And he's like, I know you lied, I know you stole, but it's okay, I love you. I'll always love you. And he gave me the biggest hug I've ever had in my life. So, do you guys remember the title of my message? What is it? Anyone know that? Anyone? Child of God. Can you say it with me again? Ready? I am
a child of God.
A child of God. Okay, so if you want to write down my first point is, you might ask, like, well, how do you know that I am a child of God? It's going to come up on the screens in a moment. It says in Romans, I believe, hold on, it's going to come up on the screens. There it is, Romans 8. I almost said Romans 5 because someone talked about that during prayer. Romans 8, 15 through 17. So it says, you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when He adopted you as His own children. See, I think that sometimes we forget this as Christians. We forget that we're not only covered by grace. Like, Jesus came and He died on the cross so that we could live a life and live life with Jesus, and we could live life free of sin. And that's great. But He also came so that you could be in relationship with God. Yeah. He also came because He said, I love you so much. I want you to be my son. Join my family. Yeah. See, God just doesn't just say, oh, okay, well, you sinned. Great, well, that's forgiven. Now just kind of get behind me, be a second-rate citizen. Don't. He says, come into my arms. Yeah. He says, come with me and be my son, be my daughter, and have everything that I have. If the scripture could come back up again. it continues on as it says.